In this video, I want to show how to work with asynchronous validators that make requests to a server and how to handle mutually dependent fields such as password and password confirmation using Isomorphic-validation library. I'm going to implement checking an email for being already registered before submitting the form and add a spinner indicating request in process. In the previous video, I already showed a sign-in form example. I'm going to use that code for this sign-up form to further extend it. First, I'll copy the effects for the remaining password confirmation field. Now the effects are applied to all the form fields, but you noticed I duplicated the code for each field. I'm going to refactor it in order not to violate one of the fundamental principles which says do not repeat yourself. I'll just put validation objects in an array and map over them to connect the effects to their states. Since validation objects were placed in the array in the same order as their respective fields on the form, I'll be addressing the form fields by the array's indexes. Let's see if everything is still working. I also thought it would be better to separate the code responsible for validation logic from the code responsible for side effects. And again, let's make sure we didn't break anything. Now we'll need a function for checking password and password confirmation equality. In order to make password and password confirmation fields' validity states mutually dependent, we literally have to glue their validations together. Now if we add a predicate function as a constraint to that glued validation object, it'll be receiving values of both fields, and both fields' validity states will depend on the result of this function. Let's see how it works. If we type different values in these fields, the error message will be displayed. When the typed-in values are the same, the error message disappears. But here is a problem. Error messages and icons for these glued validations are affected only by its own field. That is, validating one field doesn't control error messages and icons of the other, although outline works correctly. This is because we have icon and error message effects connected to the validated state, whereas outline effect is also connected to the change state. Since password and password confirmation validations are, so to speak, glued together, when one field is being validated and its state changes, it also causes validity state change of the other. So what I just did is I connected icon and error message effects to the change state as well. Now we also need an effect ID for displaying error messages to tell that it is the same effect connected to different states. Now error messages and icons indicate the correct state of both fields. And this is just small simplification that I should have done earlier during refactoring. Before creating a new user account, it is often needed to check if it already exists. Let's implement a function that will make a request to the server to check if a typed-in email address is already registered. For that, I'll be using dummy.json API. I want to add a protective delay for this function to prevent it from running on each input event. It also will not start unless the previous constraint is met. Here we are seeing the error message because the result of a predicate function is considered as false until the function is executed. Apart from that, everything seems to be working. We'll fix that in a moment. But before that, I want to add a spinner and a message which tell the user to wait while checking their email is in process. I'm going to encode SVG markup to base 64 encoding and use it as a data URL. I'm doing it here because animation in inline SVG doesn't start until markup is fully rendered, which results in some undesirable visual artifacts. I want the spinner to be displayed after the pen icon on validation start. The logic is simple. If validating a field takes more than 1 second, the spinner will be displayed. Otherwise, its deferred appearance will be cancelled by the valid icon. Let's see it in action. It works. Now let's fix this irrelevant error message. We can simply clear error messages on validation start. As we can see, the message is gone. But what I want to do instead, I want to show another message accompanying the spinner. To render that message, we'll need to import another function called renderProperty. We'll need to render the same property regardless of validity state and with the same delay as the spinner appears. Now what we are left with is this incorrect outline. That incorrect outline is a deferred effect of the previous validated state. So what we need to do is to cancel that deferred outline effect on validation start, or in other words, to remain current outline or its absence. I'll set an impossible delay for this effect so that its only purpose is to cancel a previously deferred effect with the same effect ID, and then itself to be cancelled by the next effect of the same kind and with the same effect ID. Now we need to set the same delay for outline and error message connected to the change state. And here is probably the last problem we need to fix in this example. The submit button is available while the email field is being validated. I also noticed a minor mistake here. We need to disable the submit button on validation start. Since it gets disabled every time validation starts, it also should be enabled every time when validation is finished. And this is the final result.